Hey everybody, it is Nathan Selove with a very important and time-sensitive video. Before I start, I'd just like to give a little content warning. I know that a lot of people come to my channel for a laugh, and most of my videos do involve that. But today we're going to be talking about a heavier topic. And I know that there are some parents out there that watch my videos with younger children, and I'd just like to warn you that this video will be dealing with heavy issues such as reproductive autonomy and forced termination, so just giving you a heads up. I've said this before, but I try to avoid talking about politics on this channel, especially partisan politics, except when it comes to issues that pertain to people with disabilities. And I was very reluctant to make this video. I've been very hesitant to talk about this issue, but we as disability advocates cannot avoid talking about issues that might make people angry. That is not how you make progress. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about President Donald Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court of the United States, Brett Kavanaugh. There is a ruling that Brett Kavanaugh made while he was a judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia that I find deeply troubling and deeply problematic for people with disabilities. And the ruling pertains to abortion, but not in the way that you might think. Now, this video is not about the ethics of abortion. This is not about pro-life versus pro-choice. And whether you fall in either of those camps, there's one thing that I think that we can agree on, and that is that forced abortion, without the consent or even the consultation of the patient, is fundamentally wrong and immoral. So what does that have to do with Brett Kavanaugh? Well, let's discuss that. In 2001, 3 mentally disabled women brought suit against the District of Columbia, alleging that state workers working for the District of Columbia had forced them to undergo elective procedures without their consent or consultation, or the consent or consultation of their court-appointed advocates. Of these elected procedures, one of them was an eye surgery, and 2 of them were abortions. The court case was called Doe ex rel Tarlow versus DC. The court ruled that because there was no efforts to communicate with the patients, that their rights to due process had been violated by the state workers. The court case was then appealed, and the appellant court ruled in favor of the defendants, the state workers that forced 2 women with intellectual disabilities to have an abortion. One of the judges in the court case wrote, "Accepting the wishes of patients who lack and have always lacked the mental capacity to make decisions does not make logical sense." The judge that wrote that was Brett Kavanaugh. So not only did Judge Kavanaugh rule that it was okay for state workers to have the final say over whether or not women with intellectual disabilities should have an abortion, but they ruled that it was okay for them to not even consult the patient or their court-appointed advocates. There is a word for preventing the reproduction of people with disabilities, and that word is eugenics. The United States has a deeply dark past when it comes to eugenics, and welcoming that rhetoric onto the Supreme Court of the United States is problematic, destructive, and regressive to the rights of people with disabilities. Whether you are pro-life or pro-choice, forcing women to have abortions without their consent or consultation should absolutely disgust you. We have to stop this man from becoming a Supreme Court justice. Hearings are set to start for him this week. I encourage all of you to call up your senators and tell them to vote against his confirmation. Regardless of how you feel about his other politics, this is disqualifying. President Donald Trump needs to nominate someone else. I understand that this is a very contentious issue, and I understand that this is a very controversial topic. But we cannot sit idly by while those who would deny us our personal autonomy are placed into the most powerful places in the United States. A lifetime appointment, I might add. We have to fight against it. This is not the 1920s. Those that would uphold an action that borders on eugenics have no place on the United States Supreme Court. We all need to be advocates. Please, call your senator. Well, that's today's video. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Check out some of my other stuff, and I will be back next week.